We are now joined by Jimmie Johnson, driver of the number 48 Lowe's Chevrolet. Jimmie, Phoenix obviously is a very successful track with you. You're tied with Kevin Harvick for the most wins at Phoenix with 4, and you have led the most laps at Phoenix with 933 laps here at the raceway. So just talk a little bit about coming into Phoenix and your approach this weekend.
Yeah, it's always great to be back at a track that yourself and the team have had so much success at. And with the reconfiguration, this track has been kind of hit or miss for us. And when we were here in November, it was really good for us. So, especially from the championship perspective. So to come back now, there's definitely excitement and confidence. But the cars are far different now than they were when we were here in November. And this will be the real first test on which team and organization has found speed in their cars and been able to use this new rule package to their advantage. So we feel good about what we have. We've tested quite a bit to get ready for this moment, but we'll know more probably 30-40 minutes into practice where we really stand.
All right, let's go ahead and open for questions. We're going to start with Woody Kane, Claire, and then we'll come up to Jeff Gluck.
Woody Kane with MRN. Jimmie, I'm curious about how you think your testing strategy might change. I mean, I know you saved some last year to use at Homestead at the end, and with the new format for the chase this year, how that might change your thinking in terms of hanging on to or not hanging on to tests this time.
Yeah, ideally, if all 4 drivers and teams win a race, we can just sit on our test sessions and know that we're into that first block. And that's really the objective, I think, for all the teams. But we'll have to see. We've tested at a lot of tracks that we don't compete at, and you learn so much more when you come to a track that you compete at. And I think that next weekend in Las Vegas will be big for all the teams in the garage area to have an extra day on the racetrack with data and figure some stuff out. So again, ideally, yes, let's save our test sessions until in the chase and deep in the chase if we can. But if we're behind, we'll have to burn some early to catch up.
All right, let's go to Claire.
Claire Beeline, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. It was so exciting to talk to drivers after the race last week. Everybody up on the wheel, eyes just sort of gleaming. And everybody talking about how you had to be the best of the best, at your best to do it. Is that a result of the weather? Do you think we'll see some of that this weekend as well as a result of the format? Or was that basically because it was a Daytona 500, it was the weather, and you guys started early and everyone thought it was going to end?
I think the possibility of rain coming and shortening the race really did it. And we saw before the rain came, we were single file up against the wall just riding. And most don't want to do that. I think the top 5 are very content riding. Everyone else wants to be in the top 5, and then they would be content. So, there were guys that would try to move the inside lane and try to get something going down there, but nothing would materialize. And then with the long delay and the threat of rain out there, we were 2-3 wide the rest of the night and put on a great show.
And what about the application here, the intensity at this track and the feeling?
Yeah, I mean, the first 10 laps after a restart here, it's exciting. I mean, this is one of the craziest tracks, I feel, from a restart perspective. We have the dog leg on the back where you can find yourself 4 wide, through the center of the backstretch and hope that you get it sorted out by turn 3. So restarts here, if we have cautions, and cautions usually breed cautions, it'll bring the excitement up for sure.
All right, let's go to Jeff Gluck, and then Tom Jensen and Bob Pockris, and then David Caravello.
Jeff Gluck from USA Today. I'm wondering if with speaking of rain and the weather coming tomorrow probably, how do you think that's going to change the preparations that you guys have going on for the rest of the weekend? How will that affect what you do today, and how do you think it'll shake out on Sunday?
We showed up in qualifying trim, and with the threat of rain, we switched over to race trim, and we'll open up the first 30 or 40 minutes in race trim and then flip over. It'd be nice to have all the practice again tomorrow, just because things are so new right now, and that would be the biggest impact on us. It's just less track time to work through our setups. So put a little bit more pressure on us today to get it right.
All right, Tom Jensen.
Jimmie, Tom Jensen, FoxSports.com. Do you have any way before going on track today of knowing where Hendrick matches up against other teams with a setup so radically different from what they ran last year?
Not really. There's been so many teams at the Nashville racetrack running that we kind of feel like we're good based on what we saw out of other organizations that were there. But I still don't have a lot of confidence in that. And I think within 30 or 40 minutes we'll have a very good idea once practice starts.
All right, Bob Hawkhurst, then David Caravello.
Bob Hawkhurst, Sport News. Rick Hendrick lauded your influence on Junior over the last 4 or 5 years, and I was curious, Junior has also talked about how you've helped kind of motivate him and helped him when things were bad. I'm curious, what do you say to him, and what role do you think you've played in his kind of comeback the last few years?
You know, with Junior, I've always just kind of reached out to him and let him know that I was there if he wanted to talk about race cars or the team, you know, really anything for that matter. With his personality, if you're in his face a lot and telling him what you think or almost preaching to him what he should do, it's not going to work out. So, and I've tried to, in some ways, lead by example and just do my thing. And he's a very, very observant guy, especially of his race and what goes on in our shop. And that's taken me a while to pick up and understand how much he pays attention to what I do and how I drive my car, the things I'm interested in, the things I focus on. And then just being there and answering questions. And from there, he has done the rest on his own. And I think between he and Steve, the relationship they have, you know, we may have been a carrot out there for the 88 in some respects, but the hard work that those two have put in and that team have put in, that's what's put them where they are today.
All right, David Caravello, and we'll take our final question from Marty.
Jimmy, kind of following up on that, I mean, Dale said it in Sunday night, he said you've been one of his biggest fans. I mean, is that just a natural dynamic of two guys who work out of the same shop, or does that go back to the potential you've always seen in him, or just where do you think that comes from?
Really out of being in the same shop, you know, but prior to us being in the same shop, I was always there for him, but we didn't have the opportunity to connect and talk at the level we do now. And being in the same shop has really allowed that to happen. And then he and I have been friends for a lot of years, well before either one of us were racing in NASCAR. And I think the time and history there kind of helps take down some of the walls and makes it a little easier to hang out and communicate.
All right, final question for Marty Smith.
Marty Smith, ESPN. Johnson, first take us through why you're responsible for the Dale Jr. Twitter phenomenon.
I'm sorry, everybody, for being spammed all the time now. I apologize. He's taking it and run with it, huh?
How'd that happen? What was was this a bet? Was this you prodding him? And what have you learned from him in watching him this week open up the way he has?
I, amongst many others, have been pushing him. I know Brad, Michael Waltrip. You know, there's been a lot of people that are involved on social media. Even the people from Twitter have put pressure on him and have come to me to put pressure on him over the years. And it's just been something he wasn't interested in. As sharp as he is, as much time as he spends in the digital world, I knew that when he got involved, he would love it and it would work well for him. And I think, like for myself, maybe in a different manner though, when you're exposed like that and open yourself up like that, it really lets your fans and others see, you know, the world through your eyes. And it's been a very interesting follow to and creative, and he must have been watching from afar for a while because he has the lingo down and tagging people and replying people pretty well. He didn't enter as a rookie in Twitter, in my opinion. He seems to be off to a really strong start. But all I did was explain to him how social media is really the best way to show your value to your sponsors, in future endorsements, current sponsors. You know, I've taken a lot of time and put a lot into our digital presence because frankly I just didn't believe in what I was reading in Joyce Julius reports and the way that they would poll people and form an opinion and then give me a value. It didn't correlate. It just didn't make sense for me. And that's kind of what I explained to Junior, is it's a real-time relevant way to show, you know, whoever you're interested in showing from an endorsement sponsor standpoint, your relevancy and how you really fit in the world. And I think that really clicked in his mind and got him going.
All right. Jimmie, thank you for your time this morning and best of luck this weekend.